Okay, then I think everybody is here. Okay, so like I said, we're going to do this in 3 parts. First, I'll show you guys a video. It's the latest video we have of Age of Conan, where we show elements of the gameplay, we show the world, the setting, and some other goodies. Then I'm going to do a presentation where I'm going to be talking about the development process that we have at Funcom, and that we've applied while working on Conan, using stuff we learned from Anarchy Online. And after that, hopefully we'll be able to give you a quick demo of Age of Conan using the laptop. So we can't do any guarantees as far as frame rate and that goes. Right now we're pushing a lot of new features into the game, which makes the game kind of unstable on a daily basis. So we'll see how that goes. We'll play by ear. First off, I can introduce myself. My name is Marius Enge. I'm not sure what that is in Russian. That's me. I've been working with game development for 10 years now. Pretty much a lot of the time in Funcom. My background is a programmer and a game designer. That's what I've been doing the most. I was the game director on Anarchy Online. I don't know, have you guys heard about that game? You play it? Of course you've heard about it. I've been working in both Norway and the US. And right now, my position is I'm a senior game designer on Age of Conan, which means I do different types of stuff, everything from scripting to tracking tasks and all the different variety that we have in game development. Okay, so the video. Okay, so basically here are some of the environments that you're going to be able to see in Age of Conan. Oh yeah, that's it. Mounted combat, you'll be able to ride horses. This is one of the cities. It's actually Tortage, I think. And you see some other environment going on. This is actually where you start the game. We'll hopefully see that in the demo. So you got stranded on this island that is Tortage. Here we see some NPC cities that is actually on fire, more mounted combat. Here you see some of the action in the combat. You see that the characters are able to interact with each other. There you see that. We'll talk more about combat in the presentation. You see one of the cities. Those weapons are used for sieging, where you can like attack other players' cities or NPC cities. So we'll talk. Okay, let's go. First, I'll talk quickly about Funcom. For those of you that don't know our company, I think these guys will cover Funcom more in detail in their talks. Then the focus of this talk is Age of Conan. We'll talk about the development team, we'll talk about the tools, the technology that we use. Hopefully we'll have time to show you some concepts and different types of in-game art. I'll give you a quick status of where we're at with Conan right now, demo, and the video, which we've already run through. And then I was thinking we could do a summary at the end and have a Q&A if we have time for it. Okay, so Funcom. Basically, we're a developer and publisher of computer games. We're the biggest developer in Europe for massive multiplayer online games. Funcom was established in 1993, and we have released 24 games. We have offices in Oslo, which is in Norway, in Durham, US, and in Beijing, and we have a financial office in Switzerland. Then, on to the good stuff. Age of Conan, Hyborian Adventures. First off, you guys know a lot about the game? Have you followed it? So you know basically, okay, it's good, yeah. Basically the setting is set in Robert E. Howard's World of Conan. It's in Hyboria, which is known from the movies and the books. Basically, what we are focusing on with Age of Conan is, in addition to gameplay, is to make the world look very good and the sound and like have sounds that puts the setting in the correct mood. What we have a lot of experience doing with Anarchy Online is creating the setting, creating the mood, and have sort of like a seamless world that seems real and realistic to the player. We are doing things with Conan that hasn't been tried before. We are incorporating a single-player game into a multiplayer game, or vice versa, depending on how you see it. Basically, Conan is a multiplayer game. There are parts of Conan that will be single-player. We are not sure how much yet. We are still like trying things out, seeing how it plays. But what we see is that the MMO market is such an untapped resource that we want to have players experiencing these types of games well. So what we thought about was having them have a seamless entrance into the MMO genre, where they actually start the game in a single-player experience, which is basically that you play in your own instance, and you aren't surrounded by the scary aspects of having to relate to other players all the time, which is something that we are very curious how it will work out. And like I said, we're testing this now to see how it plays out. But basically, what the gist is that you play the first 5 hours or so in the single player mode. You'll be able to skip that later on once you've made a character. You don't have to do that every time. And if you know the game, you can probably play through it in like 30 minutes or so. So it's not a time sink or anything like that. Real combat. Basically, what we mean with real combat, we'll talk more about that in the demo, where we're going to show you the combat, what that is. Do you have a question? Oh, okay. Formation sieges, we'll also talk a little bit about that later on. The AI system in Conan is also something new and unique. What we've done there is that it's a need-based AI system, which means that the NPCs, they can hear, they can smell, and they can see. We'll go more into details about that later on. PvP is a big focus in the game. We had, a couple of weeks ago, we had our first successful PvP test, which was awesome. Everybody on the development team was ganking each other. A lot of fun. Combat, that is what the game is all about. The combat, which makes sense in a Conan setting. For those of you that know the Conan universe, the kind of the dark setting, combat is a very important part of that. The team. We have a very international team. Right now, in the Oslo office, we are about 80 developers. A couple of them from Ukraine, actually. So we have very good guys there. Basically, the team management is a game director, it's an art director, and it's a project director. Basically, what they do, the game director, he is the keeper of the vision of the game. He is the person that outlines the direction where we're going, what type of features we are focusing on, stuff like that. The art director, he is the manager of all the art that goes into the game, and the project director, he is the guy who will do the tracking and the follow-up. Pretty much same as in all other game companies, I think. 6 different sub-teams. We have graphics, which is art. We have designers, programmers, audio testers, and sales and marketing. I think this is pretty much standard stuff. I understand most of you guys are game developers, so you probably know how this works out. Okay, so what we do. Now we're talking about the production process. We're talking about the early phases of the production process. The first thing we want to do is define the vision. The vision of the game needs to be clearly defined because we know that there are going to be a lot of people working on the game. If all the people working on the game have their own opinion of what the game will be like, the game will probably not be that good. It's going to be very noticeable for the players that different types of areas, for example, have been made with different types of visions in mind. So it is very important that early on in the process that the project management sets a vision, explains the visions to everybody that is involved, and that they make sure that they maintain that throughout the whole project. The vision will probably change. It needs to be a consistent type of ideas going into that, so that in the end for the players that it makes sense. A good example of that I think is World of Warcraft, where you see that it's very obvious that they have had a very clear idea of what the game is all about. As parts of that is also getting everything set up for production. Basically that is hashing out all the high-level designs, all the feature lists, all that stuff needs to be set up and needs to be available to everybody on the team. Everybody needs to understand what this game is all about. And that can be a hard thing because you have to kind of visualize what the game is all about without having any reference or anything to look at. It's been a lot easier now because you can see multiplayer games like World of Warcraft and EverQuest and Anarchy Online. You can see them and you can kind of explain to yourself and your colleagues what they are all about, and using those games it's a lot easier to communicate what you want to see in an online game. Earlier on it was hard, like for example with Anarchy Online, when we started making Anarchy Online there wasn't really any reference games. We weren't exactly sure what we were making. It started as a research project that ended up as a game. So these are exciting times when we're actually able to use reference materials from other developers and ourselves, of course. The tasks of the pre-production is, we talked a lot about the vision. Another thing that's important is the story background. What is the setting of the game? For our setting, we've chosen Rob T. Howard's world, Hyboria, which is, for us, a huge advantage having an IP because there are so much stuff and so much story that Robert wrote that we're able to use in the game, which of course makes it very easy for us as far as story background. But still, we have to translate this into the game, and it needs to be consistent, which is the hard things. And then we have the technical research. Basically, what you do in a technical research phase or aspect is that you design the building blocks of the game. You decide on a 3D engine. Should we make our own 3D engine? Should we buy, for example, Unreal and modify it? What is the advantages of doing that? Like, for example, with Unreal, the advantage is, of course, that you get tools up and running right away. You can have graphic artists making assets the same day as you start production, which is awesome. If you choose to make your own 3D engine, there's probably going to be a year or so where you have to make the foundation for the client and everything that goes in there. So you won't actually be able to see anything on the screen, which can be kind of demotivating as well. And why should you reinvent the wheel? I mean, there's a lot of questions that needs to be answered and needs to be researched as far as the technical goes. And then there's the system design. The system design will cover the parts of the game that is, I'm not sure to explain that, but you know how you have certain features in the game that are huge features, like city building, like combat. All of that stuff needs to be designed, it needs to be documented, and it needs to be tested from the other members on the team as far as basically just same test everything. Make sure that what you are trying to implement is possible with the technology that you have at hand. Make sure that it will be fun and it will play well. It's very hard to do. That's why I think being a designer is a very hard job, because you have to conceptualize and visualize everything that goes on in the game all the time. Conceptualize is a part of that thing, like I said. Milestones is basically on the project management level where you split up the different phases of the game into different milestones, and you make sure that you have deliverables for all those milestones. Having a milestone without a deliverable doesn't make that much sense. You need to be able to track the progress. That is very important, both for the future development of the game, and also for the motivation for the team members. You have to be able to pat yourself on the back every milestone and say that we did a good job with this. You have to be able to make sure that you are able to measure what's going on. You have to have finance and funding ready. You don't want to be in a situation where you make the game, you spend 2 years making it, and then suddenly you don't have any more money. You have to be very cautious about the budget. How many people can we afford to have on a project? How many of those should be programmers? How many should be artists? How many designers do we need? All that stuff needs to be hashed out as early as possible, and that needs to relate then to what kind of budget you really have. Marketing and PR, Jürgen is going to talk a lot more about that, so I'm not going to go into details about that, but basically you need to know what is the plan. What market do you want to sell this game to? Is this a game that you want to sell to all people playing WoW, or do you want to really sell this game to other types of players that don't really think WoW is the best game on the planet? Then you're in the production phase, once you've settled all those things. Basically the goal of the production phase is simple, is to produce the game. Right now we have, see that the number is wrong there, it should be 80 people, 80 plus people. You have to set up a team, you have to have a team of designers and artists and programmers that have tasks at hand. What we are doing now with Conan is that a lot of the stuff is outsourced to Funcom China, where we have Funcom China office making art and graphic assets to be used in the game. So that gives us an external team of about 100 people. Anarchy Online has been in, I think it's been like 10 years or so since we started making Anarchy Online, so of course we've gained some experience over the years. Our production is very much milestone driven. Like I talked about, we split the different deliverables into milestones. And it's not only milestones that cover the entire scope of the game. We have, for example, a PvP milestone, where the focus for the entire development team is making sure PvP is in the game and is working and is fun. That's a milestone. It doesn't need to be small steps in many different camps. It can be one huge step in one camp, for example. Follow up and decide. Basically, the people that are the keepers of the vision, which would be the game director, he needs to be able to track what's going on all the time. He needs to know what kind of features are being put into the game. He needs to agree that those features are exactly the features and that they play as he intended them to do. Iterative process. You probably won't get it right the first time. You probably won't get it right the second time either. But you might be able to do it on the third time or fourth or fifth. So you get the idea. Basically, you want to iterate everything that you do. You want to start by getting what the general idea is in the game. You want to be able to fight. That's the first thing you want to be able to do. And then you can start saying that you want the fights to be longer or shorter. Once you've done that, you can say that, okay, so we want more special attacks, so you make that. So you continue to iterate all the time on what you're doing so that you can be happy with the result. It's almost, I've never heard of anybody anyway that have been able to get things right on the first time. There's so many components going into an MMO that they need to fit with each other. So having an iterative process is key, I think. Prototypes, that goes with the same as being iterative. Basically, you make a prototype of what you want to see, and you make it in the game. You play it, you get the feedback. You can focus test it with external people if you want. You can have other members of other teams on the development house play it, give feedback. And basically you iterate on the prototypes. Reviews, that's something we use a lot. basically we have reviews every week where we have split up the team in different strike teams. I'll talk more about that later. But basically, a strike team has responsibility for something. A strike team can be a PvP strike team that has responsibility for all the PvP going in. It consists of designers, programmers, and artists. So basically what we do is that we get a direction from the game director or the people involved, the lead designer maybe, and we set up a review with the game director where we show him the progress that we've done over the last week. The game director then, together with the group of people, will sit down and we'll make notes from that meeting, and then everything will turn out in a review note, which is basically what we have at the end of the week, which will be the focus for next week. Then it's time to take care of all those things that didn't exactly work the way we hoped that it would. So having reviews is a very important part of actually following the game. Because what we've seen is that if we don't have reviews all the time, and if we don't have the same people following up on what goes into the game, there is very quickly that we will have inconsistency, and it will be very easy for the players to notice that this doesn't feel right. It doesn't. I started on A, and right now I'm suddenly on C. Where was B? I'm missing something. So tools, I'm going to talk more about that later. Tracking. Basically, we use Bugzilla, which is an open source bug tracking system. It's been heavily modified. I think we've used Bugzilla now for like 10 years or 8 years, 9 years, something like that. We modify it over the time. So it's right now it's a Funcom. It's really a Funcom version of Bugzilla. I'm not going to go much into details about that. These guys will talk more about Bugzilla and how that works there. Subversion code control is what we use for all the source control that we have with the code. Daily tracking meetings. Like I said, these guys will talk more about that as far as project management goes later on. But basically, we are able to, on a daily basis, see what all the members of the development team have spent their last 24 hours doing. So we have very much control of what goes into the game and how long people spend doing it and such on and so on. Like we talked about, weekly reviews and strike teams is a very important part of the development process. Okay, so some fun stuff. Here we have some concept art from Conan. See some swords and buildings. These here are player-made houses. Here you have a stable. We've been lucky because for Conan, I mean, a lot of the world, like I talked about, has a setting already. There are pictures. People have conceptualized this over the years, but still, we want to have like our own style on doing it. So concepting everything that you do is extremely important in a negative. Here you see some concept arts from Stygge, which is one of the continents in Age of Conan. Concept arts, this is cities, even more city stuff. We'll actually be able to hopefully see this city in the demo. Here you have some concept art of character. No, this isn't concept art, I'm sorry. Some character models that we are having in the game, some monsters and NPCs. Here you see how we work. Here you see like the basic idea, the concept, the picture that the artist used. It makes textures, and this is the final result in the game. Some more monsters. Here we have some screenshots. Here we have some pics, which are probably known from the Conan mythology. Here you see some classic Conan stuff, some decapitation action going on. We have that in the game, and Conan will not be a game for kids. I can say that. I mean, this part, the violence, the sex, the gore, is all a very important part of the Robert E. Howard, how he shows the world to be. So that is going to be important for the game as well, that it feels like that world. So we're not going to like compromise with ourselves to be able to have a younger rating. Okay, so we're talking about tools and tech, which is cool because that is one of my favorite aspects of working with games, is actually be able to work with the bleeding edge technology. So we're going to be talking about character models first. So there's a sentence there that is kind of hard to read. Infinite layer spherical coordinate-based animation blending. Fancy word, but basically what it means is that the character will have effects from whatever happens to the body. Like, for example, if the character is hurt in the left leg, it will limp on the left leg. If the character is intoxicated, the character will sway. If the character is drunk, the character will actually look as if she is drunk. The motion capture for the drunk thing, that was kind of fun. Sliding on the ice, meaning that the characters are able to interact with objects in the environment, to change the laws of physics based on whatever. For example, if the ground is different, if you run on snow, it will be different than if you run on grass, stuff like that. Per bone normal extrusion, which basically means that we are able to modify all the bones on the character. Like you would have one bone for the chin bone, which we are then able to stretch and modify as we want, which then again gives us the advantage that it's very easy for us to create unique characters in the game. All the characters will look different because we have the freedom that we have using these tools. Additive emotion, lip sync, and character customization system. The character customization system is the bones that I was talking about. Having the possibility to have fat or thin characters, strong, weak, all that stuff is going to be important. We've seen in MMOs lately that people tend to use a lot of time in character creation. So it's very important for us to make character creation a fun experience. It is actually the first thing that you meet in the game, and it needs to be polished, and it needs to be fun, and you need to get the feeling that you want to play this game by just looking at the character creation. Shaded-based cloth and hair simulation with body collision, which basically means that you can have long hair and it doesn't necessarily go into your shoulders, but it actually lays on top of the shoulders. So we have collision and all that stuff. That is the next generation, basically, as far as MMOs are. Because right now, no matter how much you put into the technical aspects of an MMO, it's still going to be a single-player game is still going to be superior as far as performance, because you always have more characters on the screen. You can never actually know how many characters you will have on the screen, which is a problem as far as making the performance. But we're getting there. Subsurface scattering on skin, which basically is that you are able to, we can make character look older as you progress in the game. There's a lot of cool stuff that we can do with that. We can apply normal maps to the character, giving the characters tattoos. We can give you, if you, for example, are in a fight, you get sliced on your arm, you get a big bruise, we can have that on you, and we can slowly remove it so that it heals. So after a week it's gone, for example. There's a lot of cool stuff that we can apply to that. We have right now over 2,000 motion capture animations in the game. A lot of those, of course, are for the combat, but there's also a lot of animations that are done for social animations and other stuff that goes on in the game. Ragdoll physics, which is basically like you saw in the video, you can hold somebody by the throat, you can lift them up, shake them, and they fall down again when you let them go. Stuff like that is technology that we're working on to get into Conan. Some more concept arts and character models. And we'll talk a little bit about the client, tools and tech. I touched briefly the fact that MMOs have disadvantages over single-player games because you never know how many characters you need to render on the screen. Basically, what we have done in Conan is try to come up with a system that adapts to how many players are on the screen, how many polygons that we actually show, to ensure that a frame rate is stable. Right now we're experimenting with that system. That is why the frame rate on the client that we're going to show you isn't that good. But be assured that we're working on it. Network is a very, very important part of MMO. The client server are sending millions of messages to each other every day. The network technology needs to be stable, it needs to be fluid. We have a lot of experience from Anarchy Online doing this. It took many years before Anarchy Online was in a state where we could say that the network technology was up to par. And right now we're able to apply that on Conan, which gives us great advantages. Let's see. Here we have a mixture of a screenshot and the concept art. Basically it shows some combat stuff. We'll be talking a little bit about the tools for sound and AI. We're doing full 7+1 surround system support for Conan, which is basically that we base all the modulation of the sound based on the environment, which in turn means that if you are out in the forest and a player is covered by a huge tree and he's shouting something towards you, the sound will sound different based on the blocking of that tree, for example. We'll have support for EAX and all of the surround sound systems that are available today. And then, something that is very exciting in Conan is the need-driven based AI, which is a need pyramid that was developed by an American psychologist, which is basically that the NPCs have needs. The NPCs, they need to sleep, they need to drink, they need to eat, and all that stuff, and they will do that. Basically, what happens is that the advantages of doing it this way is that when you enter a city, in traditional MMOs, you often have a bunch of NPCs just standing around not doing anything. In Conan, all the NPCs will be social creatures. They will, you probably won't be able to see an NPC standing by himself, because like humans, they are social. They will walk up to another NPC and they will talk to him. They will maybe go and get something to drink within certain rules, of course, because we can't have all the NPCs going to the bar at the same time and stuff like that. They have group activities, which is basically that a pack of wolves will be a lot more dangerous than just one single wolf. Their behavior will be different. They will be a lot more aggressive. NPCs will be a lot more aggressive if they are kind of supported by their own. So that is something that will make the game much more believable and is going to bring a whole other sphere of AI into the game. It's important though to make sure that the AI is still kind of predictable, because you can't have an NPC or an AI that you never have any idea what they are going to do. So it's a balancing. Here's some more pictures. For character creation, it's important to make that it's an integral part of the game. It's the first thing you see. Like I said, it needs to be polished, and the player needs to get a feeling for the game. He needs to get the feeling that he's being brought into something that he wants to continue to discover. Basically, you start out on a boat as a slave. Here you have a wizard who is going to purchase himself a new slave. He is with a slaver guy, and you are sitting there. You are one of those people that are rowing and moving the ship. So we can select, for example, a Siberian guy, or yeah. Can you go to customize character? Basically what you see here is that you will be able to do modifications on the character. There's a lot of stuff that's not in this version yet, like skin color, but that is basically, we're just tinting the skin of the character. Here you can do like measurements. We are also working on something really cool now, which is normal maps. That is basically a new map that we put on top of the character, which is going to be able to give you wrinkles and such on and so on. You can put tattoos on, that's not in this version yet. You can have body hair, you'll be able to customize everything. If you go to the other side there, you can set different types of faces, and you can zoom in and out on the character. You can have like set a beard, all that stuff is not in this client. Here you see a lot of modifications you can do. You can change all of these. I mean, playing an MMO is an RPG. You need to be able to identify yourself with the character you are playing. So that is why it's so important to provide players with options add alternatives, and give them different types of looks in the game. Yeah. Shouldn't dwell any more about that. We have so little time, so let's just enter the game. What's your character name? Oh. And like I said, the character creation is something that is going to be iterated on probably until the day before we launch. Character creation and the first hour that you play the game is extremely important. We've seen from Anarchy Online that 95% of our customers that actually try the game, they leave within 1 hour. So having the first hour of gameplay perfect and polished is key to success as far as MMO goes. Because we aren't happy if we just sell the boxes. We actually want people to play the game on a regular basis and have fun. And just providing them with an excuse for not playing the game is not good business practice. So, yeah, okay, it's loading. So I'm going to be talking about then what we are going to see. Basically, what happens is that you are on the slave ship. Something happens there that we are going to show later on. As far as you suddenly end up on the beach where you aren't exactly sure what happened. You have this mark on your chest. You're not exactly sure why it's there. You don't know what your purpose is. You meet this guy. He tells you that you should head to the city. And there are some quests that you will be led on in the beginning. When you go through the jungle that is around the city, you will meet picts. They will attack you. You will be tutorialed through the combat system because the combat system in Conan is very different from usual types of traditional MMOs where you target an NPC and you press an ability and then you engage combat. In Conan, it's a cone system. So basically everything that you have in front of you is your target. So if you have several NPCs standing in front of you and you make a slash and it goes like this, you will hurt all of those 3 NPCs. So basically all the damage that you do in Conan is area-based damage, which is a totally new concept as far as combat goes. I mean, we have area-based damage in other types of games, but in Conan that is the damage that you do. Okay, so that is your character. Kind of confused. Can you
see if the frame rate actually works?
Frame rate is horrible.
Yeah, it is.
Can you turn around?
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
Somebody
Just that far.
Oh, okay. So, not a good version to them.
Actually, the version is really good because my laptop is not strong enough. It's getting close to 2 years.
And that's another thing. I mean, working with games, you always push the technology. Right now, I mean, we've been working for the last couple of weeks, the last couple of years actually, working with the technology that is going to be in 2 or 3 years ahead. We've been working with DirectX 10. The problem then is that you get situations like this where we don't have hardware enough on normal laptops to run what we are doing. But right now, here you see some of the combat moves. Basically you have different types of moves where you can hit in different types of directions. It's all direction combat. As you progress through the level, you will get different combos, like if you press the buttons in a certain order, you will get access to special attacks and different types of combos. There is going to be magic in Conan. Magic is, of course, an important thing, where you have classes that are able to do magical combat, ranged combat, all that stuff. There's no shadows turn on there. So basically, you approach into the forest, you get attacked, you do the fighting. As you see, he doesn't target any NPCs, he just actually turns towards them and he starts to fight. That is one of the key elements. And that's also why positioning is going to be extremely important in Conan. If you are fighting in a group and you are taking down a group kill or something, how you position yourself relative to your group mates is going to be extremely important. And that's why we have formations, which is like for high-level encounters where you have different types of PCs that need to position themselves in the correct order to be as most efficient as possible.
I'm struggling with the frame rate minus.
Yeah, the frame rate.
That's my surgery. So I'm trying to get forward, but I'm...
Yeah. I think we're kind of running out of time anyway. Getting there. Yeah, like I was saying, formations is going to be important. You are going to be able to like be in a group and just fight casually, of course, without worrying yourself about how you place yourself as far as NPCs and other player goes. But it will be very important to be able to maximize the damage that you're doing throughout the game. Sieging is also like a unique aspect of combat where you will have big groups of PCs or NPCs actually running into cities and attacking everything that's there and just having massive battles. Like for those of you who played Anarchy Online, you know that like the tower battles that we had are pretty massive. And here you're going to be able to do that both with PvP and PvE. Okay, I think I've covered most of the stuff I wanted to talk about.
To come back to when I have a killer laptop to get good frame rate.
Yeah, we are right now, we're in a beta phase where we have external people playing the game. Luckily we have a huge organization called the Advisors of Rubica, which are volunteers that helps us with Anarchy Online. They have their own sub-organization, which are bug hunters. They have access to the game right now. Since there are so many, we really don't need any other players right now. But we will open up a beta later on for Conan. But probably like next year, sometime, early next year. We're going to launch the game in May 2007. Har du det? No. So basically that is what I wanted to talk about. There's some extra time now for questions. If you guys have any questions. Yes?
I will take it. But you said that you have Bugzilla and Subversion, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And what about some project management software and about integration, all of them?
Yeah, that is what Øyvind is going to talk about in his talk. Is it 4 o'clock?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. So he will cover all those aspects, how the different types of tools are integrated. He's going to show you screenshots, how we're able to track people on a daily basis, and that part of the development process. I was trying to cover more of the creative part.
Okay, another question about engine. You've been saying that there is need to choose something. What did you choose?
Basically, we were yet again in a good position because of Anarchy Online. So we were able to use what we had on Anarchy Online and further expand on that engine. So we weren't starting from scratch.
Okay. Another question?
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been talking about NPCs, AI, and communication between that.
Yes.
Them. What is the system?
Basically, that system is totally up to the designer to choose. We have situations where you will, if you as a player attack an NPC that has like friends in the vicinity, his friends might come and help, or often they probably will. But if you, for example, if you attack a camp and you get in the vicinity of an NPC, like the analogy most of you guys have probably seen Lord of the Rings. When Frodo and Sam are hiding from like the eye that's covering, that like hovers around. It's going to be the same way in Conan, where you will be able to see NPCs that have like a range and what they're looking at. You'll be able to sneak past that maybe. You're going to be able to take chances doing that. If the NPC sees you, he might like run over and ring a bell, and other NPCs are going to hear that and they're going to come running to his aid.
So basically, I'm asking about how far information can go through NPCs. How long it will be stay? For example, we'll remember them you for a year or...
Oh, okay. So, no, NPCs probably won't remember you. NPCs, they live in... they're still simple creatures. They live in now, and if you attack them, they will remember you until you are dead or they are dead. And that's pretty much it.
And final question, what about this? How player gonna die?
Right now we're experimenting with different things. I assume what you're asking is more like, will you have an XP loss? What kind of penalty will it be? Will you have to respawn somewhere else? Right now we have, the way the system is right now in the game is that you die, you take a penalty, you get an XP debt, and you respawn somewhere else. You don't have to run to get your corpse or anything right now, but we might modify that as we go on. It's important that death shouldn't be a hassle. Death needs to be as fun as death can be. I mean, it's still a way of penalizing the player, but it shouldn't be. We shouldn't go out of our way to make it uncomfortable for the player to die.
Yeah. What about the reality test? Fatal test.
What about reality?
You die, you cannot
implement the fatal test.
Permadeath. No, that probably won't be in Conan. It might be on some special rules set server, but no, probably not. Yes?
Hi, Video.com. I have a few questions. There's you, Conan, have, let's say, some develop all games in Conan universe, right?
Yeah, all online games.
Online?
Yeah.
Are you planning to develop single player, maybe not online games in Conan based?
Well, like I said, we don't have license to do single player games, I think. THQ has the license, yeah. So
the game is coming next year.
But yes, we have the Conan license for 10 years or so, 20 years. So, I mean, we probably won't just make this game. But, I mean, that's impossible to say at this point. Right now, we're focusing on this game, and we're going to get, like, this Conan game as good as possible.
There's maybe another game in production now?
We have other games in production, but not Conan games.
Okay, now, Zori Castillo. What happens with this character? Should we Dreamfall 2 maybe launch a genre free? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. You have to talk to the project manager over there. I really haven't been involved with The Longest Journey or Dreamfall at all.
You have to tell the story.
A big marketing or project manager.
We hope to make a new game. One day we'll like to go back and complete it.
Yeah, I mean, both Longest Journey and Dreamfall have been huge successes, and I mean, we want to continue building on that. But then again, we have a lot of ideas, and I mean, there's a lot of games that we want to make, and we're expanding a whole lot now. We're like almost every week I see people in the office that I'm thinking like, I don't know that guy. Is he working here? And then he was hired like yesterday. So it's like we're expanding fast, and so yeah.
Okay.
That's the best answer I can give.
Age of Conan was one of few games from Vista, launch time.
Yes.
And now can you actually tell us the release date of the game?
No, I don't think I can say anything
Maybe
about that. I'm just a game developer.
I'm going to speak about online afterwards.
Okay, so that's going to be covered, yeah.
But it's coming between March and May next year. So that's the window we set.
Thanks.
Every time I, as a game developer, start talking about dates, people think, what's he going to say? Yeah.
Question about Anarchy Online. Will the Lost Eden be the last add-on for Anarchy?
No, I don't think so. Anarchy
you
Online...
go on with it. It's 5 years and you are planning to go on with the game?
Yeah, we have a development team on Anarchy Online that we still hire people to join. And having Anarchy Online is extremely important for Funcom, because what we can do with Anarchy Online is that we basically have a sandbox where we can put new people, and they are able to make content, and they're able to see it in the client like that, which is extremely important. So we want to keep Anarchy Online alive as long as possible. We have dedicated programmers, we have designers, we have game management and artists working on Anarchy Online. I think there's a 25-man team, so we have a lot of people working on Anarchy Online.
You have a great community.
Yeah, and the community is great. And like I talked about the Advisors of ARC, I mean, the work they do is immensely important to us. They are doing live adverts for us. It's very important. And we want to use Anarchy Online to try out new ways as well. Like, for example, the free play thing that we did with Anarchy Online. That might be a way that we want to do with Conan as well. We're not sure. We can use Anarchy Online and we can try different things out. So having Anarchy Online online and actually working is very important to Funcom.
Will you modify it, maybe this XP loss on the death is very unpleasant thing. Compared to the games that are used now, it's not that user-friendly as World of Warcraft, for
No,
example.
I totally agree.
Will you modify this, or will you modify the gameplay to get it more user-friendly, or it will stay as it is?
It's really hard for me to answer that because I don't work on Anarchy Online. I did one time, but right now Morten, who took over as game director after me, he's making all the shots there. But what I can promise is I can talk to him about it and give you your concerns. But I agree. I mean, it is very brutal that you're able to lose that many hours of gameplay by just forgetting something. And it shouldn't be that way. That's not fun. It doesn't contribute to making the game fun. Was that good enough answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So my conclusion for those games, as a player who played Anarchy Online as well as World of Warcraft and many other MMORPGs, I have a questions. Are you focused on leveling? Is your main target? So the main time. Are you oriented on the end level content, or the player will spend a lot of time, like in Anarchy Online, during just leveling? Because in Anarchy Online, it's
you will not spend that much time in Conan leveling. I mean, that is one of the mistakes that we learned throughout the years. What we see from Anarchy Online is that when people get high-level characters, they don't leave the game. Like people playing WoW, when you get level 60 really fast, you don't quit, you don't leave the game, you start another character. That's what we want to do with Age of Conan as well. I mean, you should be able to progress fast through the game. You should be able to get to the end game, and the end game is very different in MMOs. I mean, you have the raid combat thing, which is a lot of fun. People should explore that, and people should be given the possibility to play that game. Because I mean, for me, that is what is the game. That is why I play the games. I mean, the end game. That's the fun part. That's what fun is. We want to be able to show players this. So we're not putting any artificial caps or anything on how long it's going to take you to get through. I think right now the level cap in Conan is 80. So it's not going to be a level run like Anarchy Online. Be relaxed.
So you will have a lot of end game content.
Yes, we're already now. Like I talked about with the strike teams, basically we have different types of strike teams that work with content from level 1 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, and 60 to 80. So we have people right now working on raid content and endgame bosses and stuff like that, making the scripts for the NPCs and all that stuff. So yes, endgame is a very important part of it.
Will you have separated PvE rounds, PvP rounds, or maybe role-playing rounds like WoW does, or you will have all people mixed in one?
Most likely we're going to have all people mixed in one. It's going to be, the focus of the game is PvE, but there is going to be elements of PvP in the game.
How do you plan to get rid of player killers? It's very unpleasant when you're farming some mobs and some people come and get you.
Basically, we're going to use a lot of stuff we did in Anarchy, where there are special areas that is going to be used for PvP, and special areas that is only PvE. So you will be able to know that by entering an area, you can say to yourself, okay, I know that I'm taking a huge risk now, but the reward is so good that I'm willing to take that risk. So it's going to be balanced out. I think fine.
If people want it, we're going to have people PvP servers.
Yeah, I mean that is an option as well. I mean, if we see that PvP is extremely fun and popular, we will be able to say that okay, so we have these servers, they are only PvP, PvP everywhere. That's doable as well. Okay, I think my time is up. Is it okay if I continue?
The final question.
Yeah.
Will a player be able to loot his victim? Will the corpses player of the players will be looted?
For PvP?
For PvP.
That's a tough question. I don't know yet.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
No, it's. I think that's very hardcore. I think we want to try to avoid it. I personally don't like it, and I think it's not the type of game Conan should be or will be. So I don't think that will happen. But never know. I'm pretty sure it won't. Okay. Any other questions?
And what about hardcore elements for hardcore players during the leveling? Some kind of symbiance or something like that in Anarchy Alliance. It was a little bit difficult for the ordinary players, but a very good point, a very good target for the hardcore.
Yeah, there's going to be elements like that in Conan as well. I mean, as far as going into details about what those elements will be, I don't think I should really talk that much about that because we're still experimenting with different stuff. What's important to know is that those elements shouldn't be time sinks for players. We shouldn't force people into doing that. If you select to do that, it should be because you want to be challenged. It shouldn't be because you want things to take longer time, so and so on and so forth. So, but having, like I said, raid encounters, that will be kind of for the hardcore players. There will be raid encounters that will be hard to get to, that will probably kill you 99% of the time, but like when you kill him that 1%, that's going to be feeling so good. So there's going to be all sorts of elements like that in Conan as well. We want to try to, even though Conan is like a casual game, we still want to reach out to the hardcore players and say that this is a game that you can play as well. So yeah, did that answer your question? Okay. Yeah, we done?
Yes.
Okay.